It is a state of an emergency. These millennial black men are killing their girlfriends and their wives. They have been raised by single black women. They have adopted these black women emotions. They don't know how to control their emotions. So what they do is, when they find out that they can't control that woman that they're with, they kill her. They don't care about her having children. They don't care about her being pregnant. They don't care about none of that. And it is an emergency. It is not being talked about enough. There is no outcry. There is nothing. And no one is really speaking on this. I really want to hear from black men, because we have to recognize we got weak ass emotional sons running around these streets. It is.
All praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai Ba'asham Ha Rakah Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders which rule Great Millstone well. And Shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom Wa Abba Babal. Alright, as you can see, this female is saying it's a state of emergency because women are being killed by their husbands. Alright, their boyfriends. And what it is, it's judgment from Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. Yahweh, he says in Deuteronomy that he is who kills and makes alive. He is who wounds and heals. So the Lord has set spirits of vengeance upon these women because they're in a wicked state. This is Ecclesiasticus 39 verse 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. See, it's Deuteronomy 32, I believe it is, where the Lord says he's the one that does this. Okay? So he creates these spirits of vengeance that pretty much snap and they show that judgment. Right there, verse 39. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Alright, so this woman's trying to get deliverance through any other way, but actually submitting to what Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai has commanded. She wants outrage, when in fact the Lord is outraged with these women. Alright? The so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian women, which have been scattered throughout the world in slavery, they are the Israelites. And that's why this judgment is happening. The Lord shows his judgment to Israel. Alright? And it tells you that these women, alright, they made a deal with the devil, which is the so-called white man. And the Lord is not pleased with you. It says in Isaiah 3 verse 8, for Jerusalem is ruined and Judah is fallen. So the judgment starts with the men, but now the women are actually catching, I should say females, because woman means to be a servant, which these females do not serve nobody else but themselves. It says, for Jerusalem is ruined and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against Yahweh to provoke the eyes of his glory. So this judgment that's going out on men and women, alright, is a beautiful thing. It says, the show of their countenance, the witness against them. This woman, she has a satanic cross on her, and she has earrings that are African, which these so-called blacks, they believe they go back to Africa. But we are Hebrew Israelite. You're not black, alright? Your skin is brown, alright? The same color as your earrings is they're brown, alright? And that's what it says about the Messiah. The Messiah is a so-called black man, a dark-skinned brown man, alright? And these women, alright, they betrayed their men to make a deal with the devil, the so-called white man. That's why they'll put them on child support. That's why they'll take the kid away and raise them with their effeminate ways. All right, and the Lord's done with it. He's killing them. It says the show of their countenance doth witness against them. So just looking at these women, they got their titties out, they got their butt out, they're disrespectful, disobedient. I don't need a man. If they have a man, they disrespect their man. All right, so the Lord's done with them. It says, and they declare their sin as Sodom. A lot of these women are homosexuals. They hide not, they hide it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. So they're getting what they deserve. I'm going to jump down to verse 12. It says, as for my people, children are their oppressors, talking about the wicked, the so-called white man, he's a retard, and women rule over them. And so what they do, they set the woman over the man. So the Lord, to humble the woman, now you got to see and be put to death. It says, O my people, they which led thee caused thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. Yahweh standeth up to plead and standeth to judge the people. So the way he judges is by putting you to death. All right, and it's only going to get worse for these women. It says in Ezekiel 9, verse 4, and Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem. Once again, the Israelites, another name for us is Jerusalem. All right, a lot of times it says Judah and Jerusalem because we were broken up into two kingdoms, which you had the southern kingdom, which are the so-called Negroes. All right, you had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which are Judah is the American Negro, Levi is the Haitian, and Benjamin is the Jamaican. And then you had the northern kingdom, which is the so-called Latinos and Native American Indians, the Seminole Indians, all the indigenous people that are of which dwell in North America, South America, and the islands, the Caribbean islands. All right, those make up the Israelites that have been scattered throughout the world in slavery. All right, and it says, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof, which is the prophets. We're out there on the highways, we're doing these videos, we're telling you why these things are happening, all right? But they don't want to accept it. They want the so-called white man to intervene and be their savior, but in fact, he's your downfall. He can't even save himself. It tells you that in Isaiah 3 and verse 11. Woe unto the wicked is the so-called white man, and it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hands shall be given him. Because he created these demons, these females that want to act like they're men. They don't need a man. They disrespect men. All right? You're going to get the judgment of the heathen, which is death. It says in Ezekiel 9, verse 5, and the others, he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, that spiritual mark, Tawa, and begin at my sanctuary. And that's why it's happening to you so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian women. Then they began at the ancient men, which were before the house, there's men being put to death that actually even know they're Israelites, all right, because they're not right. Okay, look at the Comfy, all right, he was teaching false doctrines, and look what happened to him. He was put to death, all right. There's reports of a lot of men being put to death that ain't right, all right, and judgment is only going to increase, not only just for the men, but for women and little children. All right, it tells you in was it 2 Ezra 16? All right, pretty much men are going to become a rare thing. You're going to have men that die in war. They're going to be drafted and sent to war. You got men that are pretty much being destroyed, and there's going to be women left to themselves, and a lot of women are going to die because the Lord ain't with you. It says in verse 33 of 2 Ezra 16, the virgins shall mourn having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Because famine's coming too, where there's nothing to eat. And you may go and break into a house to try to look for food, and you become food. They'll blow your fucking brains out and then eat the rest of you. All right, we're about to go into a very, very bad time. It's called Jacob's trouble because it's trouble for the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian. But we're going to be saved out of it, the hopeful elect. All right, it's prophesied. It says, hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. The servants of the Lord are going to eat. When everybody else is starving, we're going to eat. We're going to drink. All right, we're going to be safe, even though all chaos is breaking out. But these women that have no men, you're going to be left out there, and shame is going to cover you until you're put to death. The men, it says men are afraid. It tells you that in Jeremiah 30, verse 6. It says, ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child, which a man can't have a child, but what it means is they're in pain like a woman giving birth. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness, because they're going to be terrified out here. All right? There's going to be an increased paranormal activity, famine, death, and destruction. It says, Allah's, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. But he shall be saved out of it. Talking about the body of Yahushai, the hopeful elect men. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, because there's not going to be no more work. All right, you can't go to work when there's war in the streets, when there's no power. All right, and the lights don't come on. And will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. And that's when a lot of people are going to die, because it's going to be hopeless. Unless you have this truth, people are going to literally kill for food. It says, for it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh. I'm going to jump down to verse 10. Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob. So we're serving Yahweh, all right, Ba'asham Yahushai, by being in the spirit of prophecy, saith Yahweh, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. It says in verse 16, therefore all they that devour thee, which the women of our nation have devoured our men. They devoured them and put them in jail. They put them in the child support. They devoured their confidence. All right, so the Lord's going to devour them, and including the so-called white men that you made the deal with. He's going to devour that so-called white man in his kingdom using fire. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, which one of the number one adversaries to the man of Israel is the woman. Every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all they that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. All right, which eventually these heathen are going to go into captivity under the Israelite man. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds. And one of our grievous wounds is the women of our nation. Saith Yahweh, because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion whom no man seeketh after. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tent, and have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be builded upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof, and out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry, and I will multiply them. So the Lord has women that he has ordained to be saved, but they have to submit. It tells you that in Isaiah 4:1. And it ain't going to be just one woman to one man. A man is going to be very precious in that day. So you're going to have multiple women pretty much submitting to that man so that they could be saved. It says, and I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. But we're going to start off as a small number, all right? But then we're going to multiply like we've been supposed to. And we're actually going to populate even the universe with Israelites, all right? And we're going to have the heathen as our slaves, all right, for 1,000 years. After that, the so-called white race will be exterminated. It will be made extinct. It will be burned away. Man, woman, and child. That's their future. Isaiah 14:21. But the woman of our nation, all right, on this side will die and learn this truth by pain. And then those that receive it, they fulfill that Isaiah 4:1. It says, in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, will we eat our own bread and wear our own apparel? Meaning they'll dress like a woman, they'll cook. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Now I'm going to read this in the GNT version because it makes it a little more easier for people to understand. Isaiah 4:1, when that time comes, which we're almost in that time, 7 women will grab hold of one man and say, we can't feed and clothe ourselves, but please let us say you are our husband, so that we won't have to endure the shame of being unmarried. Because the women that are unmarried, and especially even married to the heathen, or married to a 2/3, you're gonna be put to death. All right. So the women that are not married, all right, that are of our nation, that the Lord has preserved to be saved, they're going to repent. And part of repenting is humility. You got to humble yourself, which today they think of it as a humiliating thing to need a man or to serve a man. But in fact, it's a beautiful thing for a woman to be in submission to her husband. All right? And this is the time we're going into. And this is evidence of it. This woman begging for the so-called white man to help him. You know? She's saying she wants to hear from the so-called black man, but she really don't give a fuck about the so-called black man. Because the answer is to come to the reality that you need a man and you need to submit to a man. But only to the men of the Lord, because the men that are of this society are no good. They're destroyed for the lack of knowledge. See? That's why they're still running around calling themselves black or Hispanic. You know, they don't know the truth. They're still calling upon white Jesus, which is a false name, and it has no power to save. Look at the Puerto Ricans. All right? So these women got a great judgment coming their way, and it's already begun. All right? The Lord's going to glorify the Israelite man, not the Israelite woman. The Israelite woman is going to be glorified by submitting to her man. That's the glory a woman has. Just like we are the bridegroom to Yahushua, and we're in submission, which is going to be glorified. All right? All praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushua, Ba'asham Ha Rakah Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abba babal.